Hello YouTube stackers, this is ST with Silver Stacking 101 and welcome to Laid Back Wednesday. If you are new, on Wednesdays we talk about money matters and social matters, not necessarily matters revolving around precious metals. Last week we began a series on the eroding property rights in the United States. We talked about eminent domain last week. This week we're going to talk about Operation Choke Point. And I'm going to explain it by using an example. Imagine you own a business, a highly regulated business by the government, a gun shop. Now, you have been vetted to own this business by the federal and state government. You are subject to federal laws, state laws, and local laws. Knowing you are vetted and watched, you try to comply with every single law, both in letter and spirit. You run a successful gun shop. Been doing it for years and years. You also have a long-term relationship with your bank. You have been the perfect client. You have never been overdrawn. You have never challenged their balance. Nobody has ever challenged a credit card you ran through your store. Gravy business from the bank. One day, you go to your mailbox and there's a letter from your bank, XYZ Bank. The letter starts out with how much they appreciated the opportunity to serve you. However, effective this date, and it will give a date at some point in the future, the bank will no longer service you. They are dropping you. Of course, they regret to inform you of this and wish you success in the future. You think, must be some mistake. I have a very good relationship with my bank. Been with them so long, my account number is 3. So you call your bank. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody will answer the question why you received such a letter. You keep running it up the food chain. You can't get anybody to even acknowledge what the problem is, much less affect the solution to the problem. Finally, you reach someone on an executive vice president level, and they tell you they received a letter from the United States Department of Justice instructing them to terminate their business relationship with you. Once you start digging, you find out it is due to an initiative, not a law passed, but an initiative by the United States Department of Justice in 2013 called Operation Choke Point. Operation Choke Point. Keep in mind, this is not law. This is administrative decree. Congress did not pass this law. Targets companies by industry. And that's important. By industry, believed to be at a higher risk for fraud and money laundering. So by virtue of our gun shop being in the firearms industry, we're losing our ability to process payments, pay for inventory, having a place to place deposits, and having a place to convey money through to pay our operating expenses. So, you as the gun shop owner has to start shopping for another bank. The problem is most banks don't want to touch you once that letter comes out from the Department of Justice. Luckily, in this example, and here's the kicker, I actually know this example firsthand. I personally know somebody that went through this. I am very familiar with their situation. I know that they were not suspected of wrongdoing on the federal, state, or local levels. They kept everything totally above board. How they were singled out by some bureaucrat is a mystery. Now, they were dealing with a Mac bank, fast food type bank, a national bank. They finally got a local bank that said, "We will take you." And the local bank knew the problem. It was all over the news by this point because the owner of the gun shop was raising immortal sin, and I don't blame him. Now, Operation Choke Point, you don't have to even be suspected of doing anything wrong. You just have to be in an industry that the government does not like. Here's some examples of the industry. Ammunition sales. Last time I checked, ammo's legal. I could go to Walmart Academy, buy ammo all day long, and often do. Cable box descramblers. Yeah, that might be pretty shady industry. Here's an idea. Go after the people and simulate a case. Take it to a judge. The old due process thing. That pesky little Constitution. Because if we go back and look at the Constitution, part of the Fifth Amendment says, "Nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law." Depriving someone of their ability to bank is depriving them of liberty. There is no due process in Operation Choke Point. One has to go to federal court themselves and initiate due process to get their rights back. That is not the way our system was set up. Our system was set up before someone loses their rights, they have the ability for due process. But since when does the government go along with that? Another issue I wish to raise, they knew which bank to write. So that meant they had to search some kind of records somewhere electronically to figure out what bank the gun shop was doing business with, which in my opinion violates the Fourth Amendment. Without any evidence of a crime, without a sworn affidavit to the court, and an order for the court for them to be able to ascertain which bank they're using, why did the government even have the reason to know what bank the gun shop was using? There's some other ones here. I'm not going to go through all of them. Coin dealers. A coin dealer can have this exact same problem. Now, I'm sure there's some scumbucket coin dealers out there. Most coin dealers I know are pretty good folk. They're not into money laundering and fraud. Firearm sales. We've been through that. That was this example. Fireworks sales. Money laundering and fraud? Fireworks? Really? Get rich products. Define get rich products. Please do so. If someone writes books on how to invest and make money, is that a get rich product? If someone writes a book on how to run a business, is that a get rich product? That seems like a broad expanse. Who determines what's fraudulent and what's not? That's a jury question. That's not a bureaucrat's question to answer. Let's see some other good ones. Lottery sales. Lotteries are ran by the states. So if someone sells lottery tickets for the state, of course they get a cut. They can be cut off from the banking, payday loans, and pawn shops. Now we can argue the morality of these businesses, but they are legal until they have evidence, they being the Justice Department, that a certain business is doing something wrong and the evidence is taken to court. It needs to be hands off. Racist materials. Well, I don't endorse racism, but there's a lot of stuff called racism today that is not racism. Who determines what's racist and what's not? Well, that's a jury question. If a law's been broken, but you got to be careful because of the First Amendment. People can say some crazy, hurtful, stupid things, but they have the right to do so. Is that going to be the government trying to censor free speech? And we're going to get more of that in another video. Surveillance equipment. How in the heck does surveillance equipment lend itself to fraud and money laundering? I can't figure that out. I've chased down money launderers before in my fraud investigating days. Still do a little fraud investigating. Tobacco sales. Again, there's many legitimate businesses in tobacco sales. If you suspect someone's doing something wrong, the government suspects it. Here's the idea: investigate that business, go to court get a search warrant for that business, get arrest warrants for the perpetrators, but do not arbitrarily go after businesses just because of the industry they're in. And some people, there's some bad apples in that industry. There's bad apples in every industry. Period. Okay. I want to point that out, what the government's doing. Cutting people off from the banking because they don't like the business. This gun shop I'm referring to, as far as I know, and I'm very familiar with it, was never suspected of doing anything wrong. If they could do it to that guy, they could do it to you, they could do it to me. The Constitution's not set up that way, but it's a pesky little document that gets the bureaucrats' ways. Okay, next week we're going to do civil forfeiture. That's a really messed up thing in and of itself. This Saturday, we are going to do the measurements of successful silver investing. Subscribe if you haven't. Comment if you disagree with this and you say, hey, that's fine if the government cuts them off. Say why. We're at 1,037 subscribers, I think. We're growing. But what makes the channel is your comments. So subscribe, comment. God bless you. We'll see you on Saturday.